The best way to defeat an enemy is to make him a friend. Among many bronies, the redemptions of various villains in the show are not often well liked. In conversation, I've noticed that a dislike for the pacing is the case more often than not, but I'll get to that in a few minutes. I, for one, rather enjoy the scenarios when a villain is redeemed because of the way that they're handled and the lessons that they can teach should we choose to listen. Look again at the examples of Trixie, Sunset Shimmer, and Nightmare Moon being reverted back to Princess Luna. In these three examples, their redemption only started with being defeated and realizing that they were wrong. Princess Luna had to be exorcised of the nightmare that was amplifying her jealousy and driving her to act against her sister and Equestria. When Luna realized she was wrong for succumbing to that, she apologized and was embraced in forgiveness by Celestia. When Trixie was hoaxed into removing the Alicorn amulet, her judgment was no longer clouded and she could see how wrong she was for 1. Wanting vengeance, and 2. Enslaving Ponyville, whereupon she asked for and was granted forgiveness. When Sunset Shimmer was stripped of her powers, she realized that her actions had caused her to lose everything. I've seen more than a few people enter a situation like this through their own sinful actions and very quickly realize how wrong they were. And then she was given the choice to change her ways or be alone forever. I'm sure you've noticed by now that although these are all very different villains, their redemptions share common ground. They were all forgiven. I challenge you to take a moment to think about a time in your life that someone has attacked you in any way. Or perhaps even worse, a time that you've taken betrayal from someone you loved. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that most of my listeners remembered how that felt and remembered wanting to do something to get back at that person, assuming they haven't already. And that's our initial reaction most of the time, isn't it? It's easy to hate those who hate us. It's easy to want to get revenge or to want to see those who have wronged us suffer a harsh punishment. Now, take a moment and think about how difficult it would have been to forgive that person. If you met that person now, would you be able to treat them the same way that you treat someone that you still love? Have you done so already? The ability to forgive is simultaneously a gift, a skill, and a choice, but it's almost never easy. And because it isn't easy, being able to do so is a sign of great interpersonal strength. Furthermore, it promotes peace after a confrontational situation has been resolved. After all, vengeance begets vengeance and violence begets more violence. But when the situation is resolved and the perpetrator is forgiven, then there is no need for further vengeance or violence. This is what's demonstrated so well in the protagonist characters of Friendship is Magic. It's the ability to see above our instincts to harm those who have harmed us and treat them as we would like to be treated. Examples here being Celestia forgiving Luna's betrayal and Twilight forgiving Trixie's attack. Even in the case of Equestria Girls, when the elements of harmony strip Sunset Shimmer of her powers and Twilight has the chance to deliver severe punishment for her crimes, the entire theater is shouting,
"You can do it! Cut his head off!"
Instead, Twilight gives her a chance to choose the right path.
You can seek it out, or you can forever be alone.
Observe the way she lowers her eyes and voice. Twilight doesn't want to punish Sunset. She wants her to be better and is saddened by the knowledge that she may not choose to change her ways. This is a level of not wanting anyone to suffer more than they already have that can only come with tons of interpersonal strength. Forgiveness is not only brought about by inner strength, but it also creates it. When we are capable of forgiving those who have wronged us, we can let go of our hatred for them. Holding on to that hatred will more often than not only fester within us and make us more likely to act out towards others, unintentionally harming ourselves and those we love in the process. Letting go of that anger makes trusting interpersonal relationships easier and creates more opportunities for people to get close to each other, perhaps even allowing us to find emotional support and more strength through friendship and love, in turn granting us a further ability to forgive others as we progress through life. However, all of this is not to say that punishment is not ever necessary or justified. After all, forgiving someone unconditionally when their only goal is to cause harm will hurt you just as much or more than it would have if you were to hold a grudge. Consider the examples of Return of Harmony Discord, Queen Chrysalis, King Sombra, and perhaps even Prince Blueblood. All of these characters share a common ground of suffering punishment for their actions. Discord's only motivation was to bend Equestria to his ever-changing whim. Queen Chrysalis was bent on conquering the nation. King Sombra was only focused on gaining more power for his own desires. Prince Blueblood simply sees no problem with being an entitled, stuck-up, pretentious tool. So what's the common ground here? Simple. None of these characters were repentant or reasonable as they were. Forgiveness is important, yes, but it's useless when someone doesn't realize that what they're doing is wrong, or in any case will continue to act against others. Discord made it clear in Return of Harmony that he had no intention of changing and therefore had to be neutralized. Queen Chrysalis was already in the middle of her invasion. Sombra was a mere second away from spreading fear and hatred across Equestria. These are not situations where it's helpful to attempt peaceful negotiations. That is, unless you're Fluttershy. But even that didn't work out. But what about keep calm and flutter on, Discord? If anything, this episode ties together the points I've made about forgiveness and punishment quite well. As I said in my One Bad Apple review, one of the best ways to stop a bully is to create a consequence for their actions in which they could cause themselves to lose something of value. In this case, it's Discord's ability to be something other than a bird-dropping target in the Canterlot Sculpture Garden. So he quote-unquote repents and is given another chance to change his ways. However, Discord takes the hypocritical approach and continues to take advantage of Fluttershy's trust. Fluttershy continues to demonstrate kindness by forgiving his antics and showing him what friendship feels like. But when it becomes clear that he is still unrepentant, she punishes him by taking her friendship away. Not wanting to cause his own suffering anymore, Discord finally makes an honest effort to better himself, and the cast relinquish him of his suffering by forgiving him again. This is shown with the other redeemed villains as well. Princess Luna may have been purged from Nightmare Moon, but she had to realize that she was wrong for letting herself succumb to her selfish desires before Celestia could forgive her. And Twilight didn't forgive Trixie at the end of Ghostbusters. She simply let her go, knowing that the public humiliation was punishment enough. But that festered within Trixie and caused her to seek revenge. But after her second defeat, she realized that she was wrong and showed Twilight that she was ready to change her ways. That is when Twilight forgave her for her actions. Sunset Shimmer lost everything, including her hopes of ever gaining it back. It was then that she realized that she was on the wrong path to her goals and gained a desire to change. When Twilight saw this within her, she offered a solution to help her get better. But how are these characters truly getting punished if we're redeeming them left and right? To this, I answer with a brief recap. Nightmare Moon was imprisoned in the moon for 1,000 years, before being thoroughly purged from Luna by the elements of harmony. Trixie suffered public humiliation when she was revealed to be a fraud and bore that guilt until she returned, only to be publicly defeated yet again and even at her own game. Discord was imprisoned in stone for over 1,000 years and then again for a shorter time before learning how good it felt to have a friend, only for that friendship to be taken away, leaving a lonely hole in his heart. Sunset Shimmer was left beaten and broken in a crater with all of her powers, both physical and figurative, stripped from her. I'd say that these are fitting punishments, just shy of the ones that were received by the unrepentant villains of the series. The final point I have to make is in regards to the pacing criticisms I've seen. From a storytelling aspect, I will grant that these transitions are a tad fast, but only a tad, and not so much that it should destroy the story or make it unbelievable. The first defense from the storytelling perspective is the perspective of the storytelling. The show uses a third-person limited style, which comes in two forms. The one being used here shows all of the characters but doesn't delve directly into or exposit the thoughts of each character. Since we aren't using a style that exposits on the inner mechanisms of each character's mind, we are only left to interpretation via characterization and expression. Through this, just as much and possibly even more about a character can be revealed through their facial expressions and body language than dialogue alone. It can also convey these characterizations much faster than lines of exposition. Discord's arc took a complete episode to show him going through the stages of taking advantage of his freedom, feeling friendship, taking time for its effects to seep in, and realizing that his actions could cause him to lose something of value. In Magic Duel, a time-lapse cut was used between Trixie's defeat and Twilight's performance for the set of Arabian Delegates. Any amount of time could have passed for Trixie to go through her arc off-screen. Is that the best way to show this arc? Not in the least bit. But given our 22-minute format, we've only got so much time, and the episode was supposed to be focused on Twilight learning a lesson about finding creative solutions to complex problems and relying on her friends for help. With all that considered, Trixie's off-screen arc can work. As I said a few times prior in this video, Sunset Shimmer lost everything and did a complete 180 on her ways. This is easily the quickest and most criticized redemption in the entire series. Honestly, I don't blame those criticisms. However, I will say that I have seen situations play out at this pace multiple times in my personal life. When someone realizes that their actions have cost them everything that they hold dear, most of them very quickly do everything they can to backtrack on their actions and seek forgiveness. With that said, despite its pace, the situation is believable to me. I accept it for what it is, but I can understand if some of you listening do not. Beyond the possible cinematography tricks and psychological reasoning one might make for such a quick transition, there is a lesson to be learned here about what forgiveness actually is. In its true form, forgiveness is quick and unconditional, barring the universal requirement that the sinner and redeemer are both sincere in their actions. Less than 30 seconds pass between Trixie and Sunset Shimmer admitting that they were wrong and Twilight forgiving them. Is this truly lazy writing as many people think? Or is this trying to remind us that we should choose to be so strong that giving forgiveness becomes this quick and easy? Given how well the episodes usually deliver their morals, I'd like to think the latter. In conclusion, forgiveness should be an important part of our lives. In order to not hold the guilt for the trespasses we commit against others, we must be able to receive it. In order to relieve the destructive hatred that can build up within ourselves, we must be able to forgive those who trespass against us. Does it always work this way? No, it certainly does not. Having this ability takes a lot of strength, and I speak from personal experience when I say that even if you have this ability now, it's very possible to lose it. Especially because it's very difficult to tell who is sincerely repentant and who, for one reason or another, will return to their old and offensive ways as soon as they are forgiven. Is it possible that Discord had really tricked Fluttershy and the rest of the cast in claiming his reformation to Celestia? Definitely. Is it possible that Sunset Shimmer turned on the waterworks in an act of cunning to take advantage of Twilight's mercy? It can be when you consider how often it happens in real life. But I like this show because it gives me hope that people can learn lessons from their actions and change for the better. This show is about being an example of positivity. For those listening who don't take their lessons in forgiveness from a higher power, something can be learned from these 6 characters that are so strong that they can forgive unconditionally. We can try to be like them to bring more love and tolerance into the world around us. And that is why I stand and cheer for the villain's redemptions. With that, be sure to let me know what you think so that we may discuss it further. If you have a topic you would like to hear discussed, or if you have an episode, fanfiction, product, or anything else you would like to hear reviewed, send me a YouTube message or leave a comment below. You can also drop comments, questions, topic suggestions, and review suggestions by liking Brony Debates on Facebook, following on Twitter, or sending an email to bronydebates@yahoo.com. Have a great day, and I look forward to hearing from all of you soon.